For the most of the military history, distance from the front line meant safety. 5 kilometers, 10, 15, 20. The further you go, the safer you were. In Ukraine, that assumption is starting to fall apart. Lately, we've been getting quite a few videos of Ukrainian FPV pilots crossing the 100 kilometers line of flight distance. An FPV copter, a drone believed to be purely front strike, starts to hit targets in the middle strike section. But even more videos of Hornet drones attacking deep logistics. Obviously, if you're going in the opposite direction from the front line, you'll have lower chances of getting blasted. And the further you go, the fewer drones might be there to kick your ass. The media, manufacturers and government clerks all like to put on fancy labels like front strike, deep strike, middle strike and stuff like this. Sure, that might be useful from the management point of view. This way it might be easier to categorize and systemize everything by the number of hits, misses, jammed or intercepted drones. But personally for me, I don't see the difference in categorization. For example, if you take a front strike FPV hit at a 10 kilometers from the front line and a kamikaze fixed wing at 12 kilometers from the front line. Sure, they might be carrying different payload, but sometimes it's not about the payload, but more about when and where the strike appears. Also, I think that the Wikipedia definition is a bit outdated. Obviously, on all Ukrainian territory, the chance of getting killed from a drone or some other kind of Russian activities is always more than zero. To be fair, sometimes it's true even for the neighboring countries, unfortunately. But most of the territories only vaguely might be considered to be inside of a kill zone, and that's only if you want to be dramatic about it. It turns out every pilot I've spoken with on this matter has its own definition of a kill zone. From basic definitions like if you can park your unmasked vehicle and not to worry about it getting hit, you're not in the kill zone. One of my colleagues thinks that when a drone has to look for its target among other, presumably civilian vehicles, then it's not a kill zone. And to be honest, that makes a lot of sense. But that description is quite blurry. You see, you cannot draw a line on a map only by that description. In fact, none of above descriptions would help you to draw an actual line, because it's supposed to be drawn by statistics only. Basically, each enemy hit on our territory is categorized and put on a map. And from this info, it's possible to extrapolate a rough line of enemies' capabilities on each part of the front line. And this, in its turn, allows us for some kind of planning. For example, since the widespread of FPVs and DJIs, I've always wondered what was the best way to use mortars in 2026. When you have constant enemy presence in the sky, as soon as you start firing, you'll obviously would reveal yourself. Well, not on the first go, but after some time you'll be spotted for sure. Here's a video of Ukrainian border guard soldiers showing their mortar's position. I saw this and thought, okay, maybe I'm wrong, maybe there's some mortar secrets to make everything work. Who am I to judge? I am nowhere near the mortar tactics and usage. However, the comments show the same concern that I had. This is a great example that shows us that the kill zone is alive and is behaving differently on each sector of the front line. So that might bring you to a question. Is maneuver warfare over? For decades, armies around the world were built around the same view of the battlefield. Break through enemy lines, exploit their gap, move fast and don't let them recover. Large mechanized formations can no longer move across the battlefield as freely as they once could. Drones make movement easier to detect and stop. And besides, Russians have played this card many times for far too long, so we've learned how to stop them. Each year they try to do something like this, but in different sizes and formation, and each year the result is the same. This is not a common sight, and I've heard pilots almost praying for stuff like this to happen, because it's basically a shooting range with multiple squads racing to the target to get all the battle glory. But warfare has always adapted to new technologies. Maneuver itself probably isn't dead, but what is dying is the way we've understood and practiced it for the last several decades. Last time Russians had somewhat of a success is only due to specific weather conditions near Pokrovsk. At this point, I wouldn't predict how everything would go, because it's as much as a war of tactics, it's also a war of technologies. For example, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry announced that instead of mechanized assaults, Ukraine would be relying more on the drone domain during our assaults. A new model of warfare is being introduced, drone assault units, which combine aerial and ground drones with infantry into a single system. This approach has already shown results in the south, where a large amount of Ukrainian territory has been liberated since February, precisely due to use of these latest units. And since the 21st century arms race is something more privately owned and purely capitalistic, it's hard to tell who would come up first with the measures and countermeasures. Obviously that both sides have their own tech know-hows, which allow this war to be going on for far too long, and the media tends to show only a fraction what's in development. And at this point, it's hard to tell what would be effective and what might be even considered a game changer. And the turnaround of measures and countermeasures start to get in smaller and smaller with each iteration. Ukraine start to use Starlink on their Kami drones, and few months go by and Russia starts using Starlink jammers. Obviously, both systems were developed quite some time ago, but right now is the time they're peaked because the matter became urgent. Same goes for cope cages. They might be efficient against a few drones, but not a whole front line of them. So to answer the question, no, I don't think that maneuver warfare is dead, but the kill zone is forcing us to reinvent it. And whoever finds out first how to maintain logistics, concentrate forces, just simply attack in this transparent battlefield, will define how the warfare will look in the future. So what do you think? Is the maneuver warfare actually dying? Maybe it's evolving? Let me know in the comments below. Also, there's plenty of content about this topic, but this one article had pretty cool illustrations which can help you see the whole picture. So please subscribe to this channel, this would help a lot. And also I'm leaving a PayPal link in the description, which would help to pay for our production. Take care.